This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. Hey team, we have a new sponsor here at the Crypto Conversation, BitGet, one of the world's leading copy trading cryptocurrency exchanges. Yes, indeed. What happens if you've got the funds to invest, but you don't have the time to keep track of the market? You still want to make smart money moves. What do you do? Well, copy trading is a popular choice for beginner traders. You can shorten your learning curve by uncovering tips and strategies from more experienced traders. BitGet's copy trading platform has over 80,000 elite traders to choose from and 380,000 followers just like yourself who are already using the BitGet copy trading platform as a potential passive income stream. All it takes is one click. You can subscribe to an elite, profitable strategist, set your limits, automate your orders, and monitor their trades. I've got some links in the show notes below. One link will take you through to the BitGet sign-up page, give you a VIP discount. So learn all about it for yourself thanks to BitGet. And now it is on with the show. My guest today is Dennis Cretan. Dennis is the CEO at IMPT, the planet's loyalty program. IMPT is a one-of-a-kind carbon credit program built, of course, on the blockchain. I think the idea, of course, is to bring people and projects together and help them address their CO2 emissions. But we'll learn all about this today. Welcome to the show, Dennis.
Good morning, Andy. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Dennis. Well, good evening, as the case may be. Let's do what we do at the beginning of the show, Dennis. Would love it if you could introduce yourself, really. I'd love to hear a little bit about your backstory, your personal history, what you've been doing in the lead up to getting involved as, I think, the founder and CEO at IMPT.
Absolutely. My background very much is in technology, right back as far as the 80s, actually. Would have programmed in binary and hex and assembler and punch card, all those kind of things. But I moved then very much into the world of business analysis, systems analysis. Initial career was in the telecoms business, but I worked on a lot of emerging technologies, which gave me great exposure to business impact. I then moved into the world of mobile technology. Actually, was very involved in the technology side of the first mobile company in Ireland. And from that, I moved into the world of directory inquiries, believe it or not, and BPO with a number of roles as COO, CTO, CEO with different companies. Was fortunate to have traveled quite a lot around the world and worked in many different places. Post that, I moved into the world of financial services, but I wanted to kind of get involved in something where I felt I was really making a difference, to leave an impression for my kids, my grandkids, and basically for the planet in general. And about 4 years ago, I met with Michael English and his background, very much Web 2 loyalty programs, and a serious technologist in the blockchain world. And we were involved in a different company on video commerce, and we started chatting about things that we might be able to do together. And from that was born the whole world of IMPT. Initially we were looking at it as a Web 2 project, but one of the challenges on that side of it really was around the traceability of carbon emissions and the bad reputation that it had. So it became obvious to us that the blockchain was the way to do this. And we co-founded IMPT, and we launched officially last October. We've had significant interest and success so far in what we're doing, because everybody in the world understands what carbon emissions are. Everybody knows that we need to do something, whether it's 8-year-old or an 80-year-old. It's known that climate change is a reality, and that something has to be done about it.
Yeah, well, very much so, Dennis. But you alluded to it, I think, yourself, in that, at carbon offsetting, it's not necessarily very well understood. It's even like a little bit controversial. So maybe just to begin with, it'd be great just to set the context of why that is, and then from there we can talk more about how, I guess, the blockchain really can help to solve some of those pain points, if you like, Dennis.
Absolutely, Andy. I suppose a lot of people hear about carbon emissions and carbon offsets, but there's not a lot of education out there. It's just more bad news, but not an awful lot of action. So I normally say that, politicians make policy, but it's down to people to make change. And that's why I think it's down to each and every one of us to actually start making minor changes in how we go about our day-to-day life to actually reduce carbon emissions. Last year was almost 37 billion tons of carbon emissions emitted globally. It was also the year that the most awareness in the world of carbon emissions was in place, but we're not seeing any reduction. And actually 2 weeks ago, the World Meteorological Association announced that the next 5 years are going to see further impact on climate across the globe, all man-made and all driven by man-made activity. So, carbon offsets, right, they occur when a polluting company will buy a carbon credit to make up for the greenhouse gases that it has emitted. And projects that reduce emissions, like planting trees or renewable energy, and that are where you actually get these carbon credits or offsets. And these projects, they add real value to the environment. They ensure that companies, individuals, they have an active role in actually lowering carbon emissions globally. And one of the challenges that has been around for years is transparency and traceability of carbon credits. And we've seen a lot of bad press, and it has happened where you've double counting, you've fraud. In some cases, your carbon credit's been sold many times over. And you haven't had the controls that are necessary to ensure that this doesn't happen. And that's why we believe that a blockchain solution is the ultimate way in doing this. At the moment, we work with a partner on securing carbon credits that are completely traceable through the blockchain. And in time, we plan to build our own international carbon registry so that projects that adhere to the UN process will actually only be available through IMPT. So, we've got to do something. We've got to do something as a people. We've got to do something as a nation, as a world, to actually start reducing carbon emissions, or we're going to every year see serious impact to the planet.
Yeah, you're right, Dennis. And it feels like sometimes it's just, I don't know, not to get too doom and gloom about it, but every now and again, there'll be some kind of protest locally wherever people might live, and that might bring it back into your local news headlines. But the only time it sort of reaches through on, I suppose, the global stage is at the moment, it seems, Dennis, is when you get some kind of disaster, which really is linked to the climate. So, we get these kind of increasing fire season events in the hot places around the world. And of course, well, here in New Zealand, we've had a series of, just really extreme weather events, Dennis, that seem to be driven by climate change. But even then, it's not always enough to really get people to take action.
Absolutely, and that's why with IMPT we looked at the approach. How can we make something simple for people, something about day-to-day lives? Because if you're asking people to make a significant change in how they go about their day-to-day living, very few will do it. It'll be a very small cohort of people that will actually take this really seriously. And so IMPT, basically the whole model is pretty straightforward. initially when we launched our platform and our mobile apps, it's shopping with affiliate brands. The likes of Amazon, eBay, Alibaba, all of those, tens and tens of thousands of global brands. When you shop through our platform with these brands, you get basically impact points which are converted into tokens. Now, those tokens can only be used to get a free carbon credit. We give you carbon credits as a result of those tokens. Those carbon credits, then we have a number of projects of which you can select your carbon credit, and you can return that carbon credit to the project. You can hold the carbon credit, or you could trade that carbon credit in the open market. But basically, by going about your normal online shopping, we are giving you free carbon credits. We've now started branching that out into basically Web 2 and OffNet. Only last week, actually, we launched our SaaS technology model, which allows an individual to buy the rights to a country for IMPT. And next week, we'll be rolling out the ability for you to buy a region, a town, a city, an area. And the whole idea of that is that get more and more retailers on board, that they give back a small rebate to the purchaser, the shopper, and in return, free carbon credits are given. They get the recognition in the shop and get more footfall because they're doing something to help the planet. And the shoppers who are going about their normal day-to-day type shopping are getting free carbon credits. And all of this is really what underpins the core reason of IMPT. It's the core utility of what we're about. So continue your shopping, you get free carbon credits, and therefore the planet will actually benefit from that. That's why we call it the Planet's Loyalty Program.
Yeah, and I like the way that you're framing it around this idea of impact, Dennis, because we've seen there's been a real rise in impact investing, right? So the idea that you can help facilitate social and economic change by making ethical investments, and this is very similar. You're trying to make it easy for people, just because you're right, it's hard to get people to step outside of their daily life, but if you can integrate with their daily shopping habits and help them make an impact that way through, as you say, the Planet's Loyalty Program, it just makes it easier. And I'm sure that it makes it easier to try and scale, because this won't work unless you can really scale it, Dennis.
Absolutely. And, when I look at the likes of having Amazon on board as a partner, they've got about 8 million brands. And then, yes, eBay and, Alibaba, AliExpress, and then we've already got 8 airlines signed up. We're finding that it's a bit of a no-brainer for the retailer because it makes complete sense. I mean, I want to get to the position where it becomes every touch point in the supply chain of product. So, you take one of the big brands, they will look at how they distribute. Instead of using maybe diesel-powered trucks, they start getting into hybrids and electric. They then look at the supply chain of all their suppliers along the way to, if everybody does a little bit, it then becomes the norm, and you can just increase in that. Whereas if you look at some of the international government agreements, they talk about 2030 targets, 2040, 2050. Most of those politicians won't be in power. Some won't even be alive. A lot of it is done through taxation, which is one way to really irk people. But if you embed it into part of your day-to-day life, I mean, in one way, COVID was very good to IMPT because it drove so many people to online shopping. It also created a far more awareness of the whole thing of digital channels and what you can do about that. And that's made it, very easy for us to actually push the online piece. And now moving to the offline is to actually broaden the reach of what it is we're about. And, we've yet to find any company say, no, I don't believe in this. It doesn't make any sense. It's so simple. And that's what everybody says, actually, this is so simple. Why hasn't it been done before? And this is more a bottom-up approach as opposed to a top-down approach. And I think that's why IMPT is really becoming a global movement, which people will want to be part of, your socially conscious shopping, the feel-good factor, all of those things, I think, will feed nicely into where we want to take IMPT.
Sounds good, Dennis. All right. Well, talk through a little bit more about the token itself, then the IMPT token. And I can see that you're launching a first-of-a-kind retail partnership network, Dennis. It says to be eligible, you must lock between 100,000 to 20 million IMPT tokens, depending on the size of the country in which you operate. So there's a few moving parts going on here, but maybe, just to explain a little bit more about how the token side of things works, Dennis.
Yeah, so initially we were just getting the IMPT token up and running the last year. It was basically, when we launched, it was to raise funds to actually build out the technology. And the marketing side of this, of course, is a significant cost as well. It needs to be constant, it needs to be global, and it needs to be focused on areas that we're engaged in trying to actually make a positive impact as quickly as possible. So what we've launched recently, our SaaS model, software as a service, is basically the ability for individuals or businesses to actually take the rights to purchase a country or a region or a city, right? And they gain access then to as much of the IMPT material to explain what that means to be. Merchants will sign up; they'll get access to an individual portal. There's commissions based on how you actually expand the network and how you actually start to get IMPT into more of the retailers, whether they're online or offline. And the whole idea here is this is about broadening the reach. This is about people understanding what it is IMPT is doing. This is about increasing footfall. And all of this, of course, is linked into what the utility of the token is. As I said earlier on, this initially, when we were looking at doing it, was being considered as a Web 2 project. We decided that very quickly to give us everything that we need and the scale and the best access to technology. We moved everything to the blockchain. And what we're doing now is creating a bridging technology from Web 3 to Web 2 to off-net. And, that's all underpinned by the actual utility of the token itself. And for us, the biggest challenge is to have the constant flow of information out there through all the digital channels, through people like yourself, that everybody gets to understand what this is. You're just downloading an app. It's just an ordinary shopping app. It's nice and straightforward. At the moment, of course, you need to have a wallet, but we're looking at ways to constantly simplify this to actually bring more and more people, especially the off-net shops, and bring everybody into the IMPT Planet's Loyalty Program.
On your website, there's also there's quite a substantial list of the projects, the carbon offsetting projects that you're working with around the world. All, of course, accredited by globally recognized regulatory bodies. Projects include clean energy generation plants, forest conservation, wind farms, lots more. Do you want to just speak to one or two? Any that you think are particularly interesting?
Yeah, Andy. We've got quite a diverse group of projects there already, and our plan is to actually grow that significantly. So when we were looking at projects, the idea was, okay, let's get something that's reasonably diverse so people can actually, have some choice, and in different regions and locations. But the most important thing about the projects to us was that they were traceable and transparent, so that people could actually make their own decisions. And in time, we're currently doing what you would call a B2C and a B2B2C environmental offering, right, as part of what we're doing in IMPT shopping. But in time as well, I want to get to the position of a B2B, where we'll actually be selling carbon credits to some of the retailers and the shopping platforms so that they can become more involved in the selection process. And ultimately, I'd like to get to a position where we actually engage on the ground in some of these projects themselves, so that in a particular country, people that are shopping day to day as part of IMPT can actually go along and see what's happening and really have this sense of feeling and purpose. And part of the app development over the next couple of phases will be the ability to, when you're sitting down in your coffee shop, your pub, or your restaurant with your friends at the weekend, you can compare the IMPT projects that you were involved in, and that feel good factor that you're actually doing something without having to make a significant change how you go about it. So there are so many projects out there, but we have to be so sure and so careful that everything is actually transparent and traceable, and that's why we'll be developing our own carbon registry, so that more and more projects will be available for our IMPT members.
Got it. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye out for that. Dennis, as we finish off this part of the podcast, just before we go to the break, Dennis, please tell people where they can go to learn all about what you and the team are building at IMPT. And shout out your Twitter profiles, anything like that. What should people do? Where should they go?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is www.impt.io. Everything that we do and we're about to do is covered on the website, with some good explanation of what's happening. We've got some good online videos there as well. We're on Twitter. We're on as IMPT_token. We're on Instagram. We're on Meta. We're growing all the social channels as much as we can. We're recently started to really push on TikTok as well. So we're targeting every age profile, because it doesn't matter whether you're a very young person or a very old person. You can make a difference just by your shopping day to day. We are finding from our research that people in their 20s and 30s seem to be the largest cohort of people that will actually make really strong decisions about their shopping experience. If they see something that's socially conscious and appealing to them, they will spend more time shopping with something that they know is making an impact than those that won't. And that's why it makes a lot of sense for more and more retailers to get on board with us as well.
Got it. Thank you, Dennis. So that website again, IMPT.io, link of course will be in the show notes. Let's go to that break and then we'll be back. We'll finish off. We'll have some fun. We'll run Dennis through the very famous Crypto Conversation hot take round. Back in one moment.
Look, we'd all like to say we're pro traders, but the reality is we're probably not. But with BitGet, you don't have to be. Why? Because BitGet is the world's largest copy trading exchange. Instead of you muddling through it on your own, feel confident. BitGet allows you to automatically copy trade from over 80,000 elite traders with 24/7 support on our secure copy trading platform. Start following expert traders on bitget.com. Check for details in the show notes and join BitGet today.
All right, we are back and I'm with Dennis Cretin. Dennis is the CEO and founder at IMPT, the planet's loyalty program, they call it, a one-of-a-kind carbon credit program built on the blockchain, uniting people, helping them offset their carbon emissions just through online shopping. Pretty cool, pretty clever. Dennis, I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid-fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
No, I'll try anything.
Glad to hear it, Dennis. You're Irish after all. Of course you'll try it.
Absolutely.
Just going to run some questions at you, Dennis. No right or wrong way to do it. Just kind of want honest hot take style answers. Question one for you, Dennis. Where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
It's interesting, without wanting to get drawn into anything overly political, but I do think that There's a lot of bad press out there at the moment, which you would have to question what's underpinning why that needs to be. And I think that's driven by fear that you have a very split group, the banking and regulatory world, that say, this doesn't make any sense and it should never be there. And you have those that believe we need alternatives to the traditional way of trading and banking. And I am very much a fan of what is happening at the moment on the pro side of things.
All right, diplomatically said, Dennis. Speaking of Bitcoin, one of the narratives against Bitcoin, specifically the proof of work consensus mechanism, which essentially does burn energy. So one narrative against Bitcoin is that energy use in a world where climate change is or should be certainly on the agenda. Of course, the argument against that is, perhaps proof of work can incentivize green energy as well by kind of harnessing renewable energy mining. Do you have a kind of a position on this?
Yeah, I think more and more networks are taking it really seriously. It's part of one of the decisions that we made in IMPT was to go on ERC20 because it's carbon neutral and has plans to be carbon negative this year. And I think that may have been the issue a couple of years ago, but now I think blockchain technology can actually really help in promoting transparency and accountability in the whole world of carbon offsetting. So therefore, that in itself is actually having quite a positive impact. And I think, the collaboration that you can get between blockchain and sustainability experts will create a greener blockchain technology, right? And I think it's pretty critical that those two cores work together. I think blockchain actually holds a key to solving an awful lot of the issues that we have, that we currently face with the sustainability solutions that are out there on the whole carbon market. And I think bringing all of that onto blockchain will actually reduce cost and will actually reduce carbon emissions. So for me, things need to progress more and more and more on the full integration of the sustainability model with the blockchain.
I like it, Dennis. Just while we're talking energy, it's great that we can, the more, hydro, wind, solar, etc., renewable energy sources, the more the better. But to meet the increasingly energy intensive demands of the modern world, what about nuclear energy? Isn't nuclear energy part of the solution as well?
Now you're talking something that has real bad press. Yes, I believe all types of energy solutions. It's like, why don't we have hydrogen cars as opposed to just electric cars? Absolutely, I think every single source should be looked at. And I think wherever a blockchain can add any value to actually making it safer and easier and quicker and better, absolutely. And I would hope that at this stage, our ability to have learned from some of the catastrophes associated with nuclear energy are well and truly moved into having a much safer solution. But the problem here is it's NIMBY, not in my backyard. Nobody actually wants to be anywhere near it, and there lies your challenge. Whereas if you're talking of wind, solar, wave technology, it's more palatable for people. So there will lie the challenge. I would not want to be living near a nuclear plant, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners wouldn't either. Yeah.
Well, where I live, New Zealand, we're famously nuclear free. In fact, yes.
Yeah. But likewise in Ireland.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. So look, 10 years is a long time in blockchain. It's a long time in business, Dennis, but let's just think IPMT. What does it look like in 10 years' time?
In 10 years' time, I would like to think that all of your shopping, whether online, offline, will actually utilize IMPT as part of a global movement that has successfully been measured to be reducing carbon emissions, and that it just becomes part of normal day-to-day living and day-to-day life.
Sounds good. Can't argue with that. Sci-fi author William Gibson said, Dennis, that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. With that in mind, can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people aren't aware of it?
Interesting question. I would like to think that IMPT is part of that solution, actually.
Yep.
Because we're already here and we're part of what is necessary for the future from a carbon emissions reductions point of view. So, as I said earlier, governments talk about 5, 10, 20-year programs. I would say you can start today with IMPT of actually starting to reduce carbon emissions and become a socially conscious shopper.
I like it.
You could also argue, if you want to move away completely from IMPT, the likes of ChatGPT. Some people hate it, some people love it. Maybe that's the future already here as well. But I see the positive of what something like that can do in the reduction of mundane, day-to-day boring tasks, creating more automation, likes of customer service and that, where people have an expectation to actually get something resolved immediately now, as opposed to going through a process. So that would be, to me, an example of a technology that I think is future, but here now.
100%. Couldn't agree more, Dennis. Let's finish this off. Finally, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
Believe it or not, I'm not a sci-fi person at all. But if I was, it is probably Star Trek would be part of my teenage years. That's how far back that goes. So I still have fond memories of working with a number of Trekkies, and could not get over how grown adults were going out having Trekkie parties every weekend. I used to find that quite amusing. So yeah, Star Trek.
But that's a great answer, actually. I mean, that's the Star Trek is it's the civilized person's answer to that question, I think. And are you talking? I presume you're talking, Dennis, the original show with Mr. William Shatner.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the only one.
It is indeed. All right. Well, the civilized choice. I enjoyed that. Thank you, Dennis. Look, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Nothing else to say, really, except, again, look, please do feel free to shout out your Twitter and, again, direct people to the IMPT website. Take it away.
Yeah. So website is www.impt.io. And our Twitter account is actually IMPT _token. You'll find us on Instagram, you'll find us on TikTok, and you'll find our very simple, unique branding as well, which will always lead you to IMPT. So look, Andy, really appreciate your time. It's an absolute pleasure to talk with you. And thanks for the opportunity to explain a little bit about IMPT. And to all of your listeners, go and look at impt.io, go download the app and go and have a look at maybe getting on board and taking on one of our countries or our regions and start making an impact and contributing to the planet's loyalty program.
Awesome. Thank you, Dennis. All the best. And bye for now.
Thank you, Andy. Cheers. Bye-bye.
All right, there you go. That was Dennis from IMPT, Planet's Loyalty Program. Yeah, I don't know, carbon credits, online shopping. Why not? Anyway, the website is in the show notes if you want to learn more. Thank you to Dennis and the team. Thank you for listening here at the end of the show, team. Please make sure you're subscribed to the Crypto Conversation in whatever podcast app you are using. But that is today's show. Thanks for listening. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin. See ya.